So that kind of sets up my next question to Dr. Fahamida Khatun, which I asked earlier, that how can we explain this paradox? So how can Bangladesh achieve this success within this malfunctioning governance system?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. And I would like to congratulate CGS for organizing this. And on this occasion, I would like to remember the martyrs of independence. So we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh's independence. And I also remember the father of the nations on this occasion. So this discussion is very important. I think Professor Ali Riaz has set the scene to a large extent. Now, you have rightly pointed out that during the last 5 decades, Bangladesh's economy has progressed very impressively and compared to its peers. If you look at South Asian countries, or if you look at the other least developed countries across the world, it has outpaced all other economies. It is one of the outliers, even during a crisis like the ongoing corona pandemic. Now, there are several explanations for this progress. I would come to the governance issue a little later, but if you look at some of the reasons for development, because I think you all know that many economists have also described that Bangladesh's development, it is a surprise. I mean, it is termed as development surprise, but and development occurred despite deficiency in many aspects, not only in governance. But I feel that what has worked for Bangladesh, 2-3 indicators. One is the policy stability. In the beginning, you were talking about some of the indicators of governance. This World Bank's worldwide governance indicator, which includes 6 indicators. But there are debates also, because this, I mean, how do we define governance? And whether these 6 indicators encompass all aspects of governance, that is a big question. But even then, I will deal with that later on. But so quite often, we discuss about political stability. Here, I'm talking about policy stability, because I think since Bangladesh's birth, Bangladesh started with an economy which wanted to be a centralized, planned economic, structure, framework. But after the, killing of the father of the nation in 1975, the economy the policies have changed. It has taken a shift towards open market economy, privatization, denationalization, all this happened. And towards the 80s and 90s and afterwards, so we have opened up. And what has happened that no matter which political party came to power, the broader policy regime had remained similar, because after from the time of the structural and adjustment policy, which was initiated by the World Bank, that which also expedited the process of privatization and open market policy. So that policy had been actually consolidated in the later decades by all governments of the day. So there was some sort of policy stability. And also, along with enabling domestic policies, there were global policies which helped Bangladesh. For example, the case of multi-fiber arrangement, under which Bangladesh was given, not only Bangladesh, the least developed countries were given duty-free, quota-free market access. And Bangladeshi entrepreneurs, particularly the ready-made garments manufacturers, they could take advantage of that, and they could export and contribute to the national foreign exchange reserve. The other issue is that along with the enabling policy environment, people of Bangladesh have been very resilient. If you look at 3 major sectors of the economy, the agriculture, the manufacturing sector, and the services sector, So the policies which have been provided for agriculture, including input subsidies and various support for the inputs and technology, we have seen now that Bangladesh has become a food self-sufficient country. So we don't have to import, only about 5% of our requirement we have to import. So and the innovation in the agriculture through green revolution, what is termed as the green revolution, that has really helped. And those are actually local innovation rather than, indigenous innovation rather than external innovation. So that's one thing. So, of course, the government support combined with people's contribution. Now, if you look at the manufacturing sector, again, I have just mentioned regarding the Bangladeshi private entrepreneurs who had taken advantage of the global policies, so they could they had come to the ready-made garments and industry, and they could increase their exports. So they could fully utilize, or much better than other countries. So there are many, about 48 LDCs, 48 to 50 LDCs during the last 50 years or so. Not all of them could utilize those facilities which have been given. And now, if you come to the third sector, the services. So which is the remittances for services by people. So Bangladesh is again another example of exporting human resources, and these are the less skilled, low-skilled human resources who could earn remittances and could send to Bangladesh. So that is again another very important source of foreign exchange. So all these sectors, behind all these sectors, people have really contributed. Now, if you come, so these are the important issues, how Bangladesh has progressed and how it is doing so well. Now, the relationship between growth and governance is somewhat fuzzy and not very clear in case of, at least in case of Bangladesh, because we are seeing that as we are growing, we are having a high growth. But at the same time, if you look at the governance index, which WGI, we are, even if you compare among the South Asian countries, we are not doing well. There are theories that as you progress economically, then you can also focus more on improving the governance, but but if you look at the chart, I don't have the chart. I wish I could show that a trend which is showing that economic growth is going up, but at the same time governance indicators are fluctuating. Sometimes it is going downward. So which means that economic growth is not helping towards improving governance. In many countries we have seen historically, for example, China, for example, South Korea, at the initial phase of their development, they had poor governance. But what we see now that, particularly in case of South Korea, it is a high-income country, and it has improved its governance to a large extent. But then again, as I have mentioned, that these 6 indicators are not comprehensive, and we also don't have data scientific data to prove scientifically that whether there is a relationship between growth and governance. That is a very difficult question. But now many people, as I've mentioned, that many economists call that development surprise despite governance deficiency. But there are also explanations that why Bangladesh progressed despite governance. This is not only, I have mentioned some of the indicators, but also the Bangladesh's low-cost technology, then innovation in case of, particularly in case of health and education, and support by the non-government organizations, and also microfinance. So these are other factors which had helped not only for economic development, but also for social development. So this is another explanation. Now, yes, though we don't have data, but there are evidences which prove that that there is a deficiency in some of the economic institutions. For example, and governance can actually have a negative impact or impact, discouraging impact for some economic activities. For example, private investment in Bangladesh is not very encouraging for the last couple of years, despite the fact that the government has very good investment policies for domestic private investment and also for foreign private investment, foreign development, foreign direct investment, FDIs. But it is not, we are not seeing any surge in that. Why is that? Because for investment, the investors will look at two indicators, at least two indicators. One is the transaction cost, that how much cost, what we call that ease of doing business or cost of doing business. So how much transaction cost is involved to invest, to set up an industry or to make an investment. So that is one factor. And then the second one is also related to this, is that expectation or the predictions of future. Because when an investor comes, the investor looks not only for today, but also for tomorrow and beyond that, in the medium to longer term. So what is expected? How the investment will, give the return. So these are the factors, and this is also a matter of perception. Not only, the indicators or the numbers cannot really always give the real scenario, real picture. So those are the factors in case of private investment. Similarly, I will just mention two other, then I can just two other areas where governance is very important. Another one is that if you look at the domestic resource mobilization, Bangladesh is now at a journey. You know that it is a high-growing country. It is going to be a developing country. It will be graduating from least developed country by 2026. So the whole dynamics of or the whole development trajectory will change. So now domestic resource mobilization will be very important. But again, here we are seeing that Bangladesh is not performing very poorly. But if you look at even within South Asia, it is the lowest within South Asia in terms of tax GDP ratio, revenue GDP ratio. Why is that not working? Because after 5 decades or 50 years of Bangladesh's independence, and we are also talking about using technology, using improving the skills of human resources, capacity development, but we are not being able to improve on that, because there are also discussions, or there are also some again there's no evidences as such, though there's no studies, but as from anecdotal information and all, we know that there are inefficiency and also malpractices. The bigger, the powerful people or the more influential people can get away with paying lower taxes, whereas the others, the low-hanging fruits or the people, common people, have to pay regular taxes. But quite often we hear that the richest people of the society, how much they have paid, so tax evasion, tax avoidance is very high. Also, illicit financial flow is also again very high. The third one, which is very much related to the governance issue, is the financial sector. Now we are seeing that the banking sector is grappling with high non-performing loan. And who are the defaulters? If you look at the defaulters, these are the powerful people who are rich, who have connections with the power, and they are not even, they can influence to classify their loans and go for years after years. So this is, where is the rule of law, or where is governance? This is another sector which is suffering from lack of governance very, very strongly. Now, how do we, so I'll just conclude in one line that though we don't have evidences that the lack of governance is stifling growth, because we are growing despite these deficiencies. But I think, at one point in time, if you want to sustain the growth, then the problem will arise. Maybe we don't know, how far we can go, But at one point in time, when we will have really, lack of resources, domestic resources, for meeting the increasing demand, when we will be facing problems in the financial sector, or in case of private investment, because investment is also related to employment generation. So in the medium to long term, we will have problems if we do not address these challenges.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Dr. Fahamida Khatun. Again, I understand that you need
this is a very difficult question, and it requires a lot of explanation and research and discussion also. But what I would say that, we have done marvelous during the last 50 years, but if we want to move forward, and if we want to look for the next 50 years, I think we have to change ourselves. And change, now that we are discussing about governance issues, institutional reform is a must, because we have done well despite that reforms had not taken place, be it political reform, be it economic reform. So for economic reform, since I'm focusing on economic issues, reform in the banking sector, reform in the national revenue system, reform, overall reform in the whole financial system is required. And also we have to actually prepare for the 21st century reality, and also that since we will be, during the next 50 years, we will be graduating from least developed countries. We will have to be not only compliant within ourselves, but we have to be compliant globally, because we have to then play with the global partners. And as you know, that once you graduate, you have to have many compliance issues. For example, if you really want to have duty-free access or quota-free access, you can have in the European market. I'm just giving a small example that we had benefited from the duty-free quota-free access, but what will happen after that? We will still be able to access some of the markets under GSP plus, what is called GSP plus, generalized system of preferences, which we get in the European market. But in order to do that, in order to have that access, we have to improve upon our various compliance in the case of labor issues, in case of environmental issues, in case of human rights issues. So all these have to be, improved upon, and for that we need reforms. Right. So this is just one example. Same goes for the financial sector. Right. There are international regulations which we will have to abide by.
Absolutely.
So, and I would say that in the next 50 years we also have to look at the technological areas. So we have to rely more and more on technology, how we can use that for our governance issues. That is also, and many countries have shown that.
Right. Thanks a lot, Dr. Fahamida Khatun. 7 minutes, so we can take a couple of questions. Not many. So, gentleman over here probably raised a question. Can you just please, go directly to the question, given that we don't necessarily have that much time, so that we can hear back from our panel. Yes.
Definitely. My name is Barrister Sarwar. I am a practicing lawyer in the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. We heard from the panel and also from the inaugural session. We are running in a state, as already mentioned, that with the public money, a bank official called P.K. Haldar maintained 80 girlfriends. And just to mention another example, a VC, I come to the question, a VC, highly educated, having corruption allegations, alleged corruption allegations of 111 counts. 111 counts. My question to the panel, we hear a slogan that a role model of development. My question to the panel, can there be a real development? Can there be a sustainable development without rule of law and justice? Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. That's a good question. We will come back to the answer. Let's take one more, few other questions. I think, gentlemen over there, then I will come back to you.
Yeah. I'm Parvez Abbasi, an economist by profession. I'll be very brief. There are two observations, but let me just make one statement that somehow 50 years of celebration of Bangladesh is being somehow tied up with 80 girlfriends of some persons. I don't think Bangladesh deserves much better regarding a person's love life or whatever. The question that I have, one is for Dr. Fahamida. It seems that, again, reading between your lines, is when the middle income group increases in large number, usually that has been the case, the pressure or the demand for good governance increases. So in Bangladesh's case, we have seen that growth has been there, but as you have also pointed out, good governance indicators has not registered commensurate gain. So is the only way for good governance in Bangladesh or in the other parts of this South Asia is that growth stalls and then there's a painful need for readjustment. So is actually continuous growth in itself a barrier towards implementing reforms for good governance?
Right.
That's one question. Just one more.
I think let's stick to one because we want to sort of really care. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Mahatabuddin Ahmed Chaudhry. I am an RMG exporter. My question, in 50 years, we developed or we had gone back to 73 years. Before 73 years, there was Pakistanis, they were not recruiting us. But after 50 years of liberation, now if I am going to be recruited in army or police or any government job.
Come to the question. I mean,
my question is coming.
Yeah.
The DGFI, NSI and other agents are going there and they are taking the history of the family. Even if my son is going, my sister's house, what my sister's husband doing, all these things are taking as I am doing the BNP. Does it mean in future the BNP's son, daughters, they will not work in government job?
Okay.
This is my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think let's stop here. I mean, if you want to sort of give our panel a chance to answer, because we just only have 3 minutes. Let me start with Dr. Fahamida Khatun, given that one question was, related to you, the question about is the growth barrier to good governance in the context of Bangladesh?
I think two questions are related. First one was, can there be sustainable development without rule of law? As I have mentioned during my discussion that, there is no evidence as such that how they are interconnected. There is no direct causal relationship. However, when we talk about sustainability, that includes many, many dimensions. So, to my understanding, I don't think that sustainable development, per se, development is much bigger concept than growth. So when you talk about development, it is much, much bigger, larger, it encompasses many other indicators which are welfare enhancing. So without rule of law, without governance, there is not, sustainable development is not possible. The other question, the pressure from, whether growth is a barrier for governance. You see, so far, yes, we have, I think sometimes we have some amount of complacency that we are progressing. Despite, whatever happens, we can keep a blind eye to those. However, the history of many countries, or if you look at the history of capitalism, at the beginning, there are, what is called initial accumulation. Capitalism developed through initial accumulation, which means that initial accumulation, how does it happen? Like bribery, through corruption and all these. So I think there are, also tendency in many countries, not all countries will go through the same phases, but many countries go through the same, phases, same ladder, so same road map. Now, I think that after a while, when you talk about, a fair play or giving a level playing field, there will be a problem, even within the beneficiary group. Because if you, and I just mentioned that why the private sector is not investing. They don't see any future probably. Many of them, there is no incentive, there's no market incentive for them to invest because the field is not, leveled for them, not everyone. While we see that over time, the number of businessmen in the parliament has increased so much, and they are the people who actually control or devise policies. And the other, other group who are outside the power periphery, they are not, benefited similarly as they. So there will be conflict even within the very broader beneficiary group. So the broader beneficiary group will become, will be divided into smaller ones. So the conflict will arise. And when this conflict will be there, I don't think that any society can, any economy can grow smoothly. So there will be, change must happen at one point in time. I don't know when, but all the, symptoms of other countries, if you can take examples, for example, Latin American countries, how they have, growth has been so unequal, and they're still struggling. So I think we should not be complacent. We should enjoy, celebrate the achievement, but we should be also work for, for consolidation and for retaining the progress what we have achieved so far. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.